Welcome to Clinician Voice, the podcast dedicated to elevating the voices of healthcare professionals, nurse leaders, and innovators who are shaping the future of patient care. I'm your host, Dr. Robin Geiger, and excited to kick off this season with a welcome from an amazing nurse executive leading healthcare. Dr. Cody Legler is a new Senior Vice President and System Chief Nurse Executive for Atlantic Health System, where he leads nursing strategy, operations, and clinical excellence across the organization. With more than 15 years of nursing and executive leadership experience, he has served in chief nursing officer roles across multiple health systems and is a recognized advocate for nursing leadership and professional development. He is also a clinical associate professor at SUNY Downstate Health Systems Health Sciences University and remains committed to advancing nursing practice, education, and health equity. And with that, please help me welcome Dr. Cody Legler to the podcast. Hi, Dr. Legler.
Hi, Dr. Geiger. Thank you so much for having me today. Lovely to see you.
It's always great to see you. You look great, and I'm just excited about your new role. So, with that, I know you have limited time. I appreciate you meeting with us. And let's get into it by let's start from the beginning. Tell us about your nursing journey. Like, what inspired you to become a nurse, and what ultimately led you into leadership?
Yes. So I actually started as a hospital phlebotomist in high school and in college for a number of years in an academic medical center. And through that journey, I always thought I wanted to go to medical school, which I did until right before I graduated. And after working for those couple of years and observing and working shoulder to shoulder with nursing team members in different ways and different shifts, I knew that I wanted to be in nursing. And so immediately when I graduated from college, I went right into an accelerated nursing program within 2 weeks. And from there, I knew through different advocacy I had been involved in and advocacy I had observed by nurses at the bedside and nurse leaders that I wanted to go into leadership. So one thing led to the next. And over time, I had the ability to take part in things that I didn't even know existed, including observing and getting mentored by chief nursing officers. And that really started my journey into leadership and where I've really planted myself for the last about 17 years in leadership now.
Wow. Yeah, and there goes that word mentorship again. That's a definitely a favorite hot topic of mine. Wonderful. So phlebotomist, that's amazing how we kind of,
Yes.
find our paths into nursing. Well, you recently stepped into the role of Senior Vice President and System Chief Nurse Executive at Atlantic Health System. Wow. What excites you most about the opportunity, and what are your priorities as you lead nursing across the system?
So I've had the very fortunate opportunity to be in this role a few times in different capacities, including clinical settings. And so, what excites me most about this opportunity is the incredible foundation across this health system in nursing, specifically the evolution of the nursing leadership role and the many, many accolades that the different organizations, hospitals, ambulatory network, and so forth have achieved, including Magnet with Distinction, including several of our executive leaders in non CNO executive leadership roles, including incredible collaborative governance that is very, very developed. And so that has all excited me. And of course, the impact on the communities that we serve that this has. So, really, really looking forward to continuing to learn and evolve with the nursing team here. Some of my initial priorities about a week in are to continue to foster an environment of professional development. To as our mission is to really continue to improve our quality, safety, patient experience, and our workforce engagement to be top decile performance and lead the country. And so those are some of the initial and more are coming each day. But I'm excited to continue to learn with this team and have my priorities evolve over the next few months as well.
Wow. Sounds like you're definitely already dialed in. This is something that you've just routinely done as a nurturing workforce. I'm just surprised that they were able to grab you and get you into this health system. That's amazing. Um,
Thank you.
let's pivot just a bit and talk about workforce challenges. So, healthcare organizations across the country, they continue to face workforce challenges, staffing shortages. What strategies do you believe are most important for attracting, retaining, and supporting nurses? Like how are you going to keep your nursing team invested in all of these amazing things that you plan to do?
It's a really challenging question, but so important. And I think one of the things to remember is that it's different everywhere you go. And the markets are different. And then the challenges within the market and the potential solutions are widely variable. So in terms of nursing specifically, it has to start with a healthy work environment. It has to start with nursing having a voice at the table, and that has to include, to me, reward and recognition. And reward and recognition doesn't necessarily need to be monetarily, although that's very important for all the reasons we know. But it has to be in the space of showing acknowledgement, no matter how small or large that is, of the incredible impact, the incredible resilience, and the incredible dedication that nursing team members have. And so you have to start with those couple of things from my perspective in order to address some of the challenges in the workforce. And then I think on a larger picture, you really have to be a part of the change in terms of the narrative. Nursing, as we know, has been voted the most trusted profession for many, many years. But it is not as easy as it used to be because the narratives out there are very different for nursing than they were pre-pandemic, and they continue to evolve and be more dynamic. And so, with
Right.
that, we have to evolve with the evolution of the workforces and the multiple generations in our workforces, and that different generations have different priorities and needs. And we have to be in tune to those, and we have to flex and evolve, including our model of care.
Right. So, I mean, you spoke about so much, but what grasped my attention was your ability to recognize the substantial amount of work and reward your team for what they do. And I think that that's really important. I couldn't have articulated that better than what you just said. Um, a lot of what you just said is really kind of driven and derived into advocacy. And I know that advocacy has been an important part of your leadership journey. Apart from your extensive service in nursing, you've led as president of Maryland Organization for Nurse Leaders, and you hold many committee roles and board seats in nonprofit and private equity organizations. So I'd love to know, what does advocacy really mean to you? And how do you maintain that advocacy lens while holding leadership roles?
So, I would say my definition of advocacy has definitely evolved with experience. So I think the first thing that's critically important with advocacy, regardless if it's nursing or healthcare or any particular area, is showing up, right? You have to make space, you have to make time, and you have to show up. It doesn't have to be all the time because you have to have balance, but you have to show up and you have to make space for that. The second thing I'd say advocacy means to me is listening. And so, as much as you need to speak and make sure that your thoughts and your influence is being translated consistently into the right stakeholders, you have to listen to your constituents and also your colleagues. And you're not always all going to be on the same page, but that's what makes having consensus so important. So I think that's another absolutely key element to how I define advocacy. And then the third thing I would say is that
Right.
advocacy has to be strategic, right? And so emotions are a part of advocacy and are important, and we're human, and in our case we're nurses, professional nurses, and so that is something that is within many of us, but you have to
Mhm.
be strategic so that the message and the goal isn't lost. And so that's something I continue to hopefully improve on and learn. And there's people that are really, really good at this, and you can learn so much from those individuals. And oftentimes they're not even in healthcare. So that's
Right.
just another element to how I would define advocacy, but also how it is successful.
I love that. Throughout your career, you've led teams across multiple health systems. We spoke on that earlier, but I'd love to talk about leadership and kind of what your best practices are. What's been the greatest impact on patient outcomes and team engagement throughout leadership for you? How does that look in your space?
So, in terms of leadership competencies and essential components to the role of being to me, a nurse leader at every level, in order to have impact, it has to start with integrity. And I think once you display integrity, it immediately exudes and starts to build trust. And once you have trust with your colleagues and your patients, and even the colleagues you don't work with every day, that allows for those essential relationships and then the communication that comes with those relationships to occur organically and consistently and impactfully. And it doesn't always mean that everything is going to be perfect, but it's of particular importance during the times in which there's difficult messaging or changes that need to occur, and perhaps something you're not even in full alignment with. And so
Okay.
I think in terms of those components, that those components really help drive um,
Mhm.
that relationship that at the end of the day is oftentimes more important than even some of the content matter expertise one may have.
No, that makes sense. And when you're thinking about leadership and your impact, it we have to touch on technology and innovation and AI, all those things, right? So as you look ahead,
Mhm.
what opportunities or innovations in healthcare and nursing are you most excited about?
So I'm a risk taker and I like to
Okay.
be bold, responsible, but bold. And
Right.
so I kind of touched on it earlier. Big picture, I'm really excited about the model of care. I think the model of care not only is going to change, but has to change. And I think we're
Mhm.
really starting to see that in the different ambulatory footprints, in the different ways, perhaps in some organizations, the home health is delivered, hospice is delivered, um, virtual care through from home with your providers, nurse
Mhm.
visits, but we're not quite there in the acute space. And we know that's where the rub is in terms of workforce challenges, financial challenges, and those are going to continue and persist, right? So I'm most excited about the model of care changes that will occur large picture, but particularly in the acute spaces. And I think with that, that's really going to drive care at home differently, beyond our traditional home health model. So,
Mhm.
that's what excites me the most in terms of the
Right.
technology that comes with that. I think it's going to be really interesting to see even 2 years from now. There's so many solutions in the market,
Right.
and there's so much connectivity opportunity. But based on where some of the solutions providers are moving towards, it's going to be
Mhm.
interesting to see how healthcare organizations respond to them, almost like when the EMR was first implemented, almost 2 decades ago, and how we've seen
Right.
that evolve. So I'm really
Mhm.
excited. It's going to be a journey, but it's certainly not going to be easy, as we know.
Oh, absolutely not. It'll be a challenging, but I think worth the challenge. As you look at virtual nursing and how no one wanted to touch virtual nursing initially,
Hmm.
And now everyone's looking at it. If they haven't embraced it, they're looking at it in different ways or utilization in different ways. Have you thought of those types of things, or are those things already implemented at Atlantic Health System where you are?
Yes. So in my current role and then in previous roles, there's been different technologies implemented, including virtual telesitting or virtual monitoring, including virtual nursing. And some organizations have used that for admissions and discharges. Others have used it more for education, for patient discharging. So there's been a wide variation. And when I've talked to other colleagues across the country, they're all kind of in the same space. There's different strategic priorities based on, of course, the organization and the foundation of that organization. So I'm a proponent of using those things in the right way.
Mm,
I know one of the very hot topics is will it replace team members? And certainly, I don't think that's the case, and I
no.
think none of us do. But the
Mm,
goal and the hope and what we're seeing is it's going to augment the way in which we work. And at the end of the day, it's going to give back more time for that human touch and human connection and less
mhm.
time being task oriented.
I couldn't have said it better. I love that. And I love where you're going with that. I would imagine that your team, the other nurses, would when they hear this recording or this podcast, that they're going to feel a little bit better and at ease with your leadership style and just your approach. Thank you for sharing that. So
You're welcome.
I know that time is close, but I have to ask you for, these are our last two questions. One would be what advice you have just for nurses at the bedside who want to move into those leadership roles, who want to do more without having exposure to leadership. What would be your advice to those nurses?
So I'd say two things. It is
Mhm.
going to take some action on your part to start, but it's not difficult. Become a participant in informal committees, formal committees, certainly professional governance councils, which exist differently and in different forms based on your organization. Beyond that, you can and should participate in your professional associations, right? There's different types of memberships in most of them. A lot of subspecialties, as we all know: AORN, ENA, AONL, the more broader American Nurses Enterprise. There's more than enough opportunities for you to participate even outside of your employer. So I think those things are essential for networking and learning, and you can do them at the pace that works for you and what you currently want in life and what maybe works for your personal life. The second thing I mentioned is mentorship, which is something I touched on earlier that you commented on, Dr. Geiger. You have to have mentors. And it shouldn't
Yeah.
just be one, it shouldn't just be two, it should be a couple. I mean, 3 to 5, I think, is good. And they do not all have to be nurses, and they should not all space in terms of discipline in which you work, including your being all with your current your employer. It's good to have a mix of mentors, and those mentors will change as your career evolves. Often, not always, but often. And reverse mentoring is really important, and so those mentors will also learn from you.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And just, I have to ask you, you know, for you, what has been that impact for you as far as being a mentor or being mentored in some way? How has that driven your leadership roles?
So I've been very blessed to have so many amazing mentors and still do. And it's allowed me to, I think, gain knowledge in spaces that I would have otherwise not. For example, the professional associations and move all of a sudden, I don't even know how it happened. I was the president of the Maryland Organization of Nurse Leaders, all based on a phone call about, oh, you should consider becoming a member of this organization. And then one thing led to an next from someone
Yeah,
I've never even talked to.
right,
Um, so, it's you never know what could happen, but you have to be open. And it kind of does go back to taking risks sometimes. It can't always be fully calculated.
right. And you can't always stay in your safe zone. I love
Right.
that. And just a final bit of advice, if you would share for other nurse executives, senior nurses, nurse leaders out there. what would you advise them on as far as self-care or keeping themselves ready for anything as nurse executives and nurse leaders? What advice would you share with them?
So, to me and for myself, work life integration, which is what I like to refer to the concept as, is absolutely essential. And in particular, as you get in more broad and highly accountable roles in terms of scopes and size, if you don't have that work life integration, you absolutely are going to burn out, and that's going to impact your personal life and also your professional life. And so it's difficult, and sometimes you don't even realize that you're getting into a little bit of a rut. So you have to listen to others. So you have to find your outlet. Like for me, it's going to the gym pretty routinely and traveling, but it's different for different people. And some of my closest friends, their biggest outlet is reading, right? So there's a wide variety of what could work, but you have to find your outlet and you have to educate yourself. There's so much information, education, resources available in that wellness, well-being space, and it's free to access so much of it. So you have to educate yourself, you have to check in with yourself, and you have to listen to others. Um, and sometimes when you don't think you need a change, you may need a change, both, and it may be professionally, personally, or both. So just keeping an open mind, and I think really doing those check ins every couple of weeks will really help you flourish. And the better rested you are, from my perspective, the more impact that you'll have. The more you can disconnect, the better you'll come back fully energized.
Oh, and there you have it, everyone. Great words of advice from Dr. Cody Legler, the Senior Vice President and System Nurse Executive for Atlantic Healthcare. Um, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Legler. We have enjoyed the conversation as always with you. The words of advice was amazing, and we hope to hear from you again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Geiger. I really appreciate the time. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of Clinician Voice. We hope you'll see you next time.